challenge was that if you want to be a successful person, ensure that you do something better than your father.
Yes.
If your father had 10 cows, make sure you have 20. If your father had a same permanent house, make sure you have a permanent one. If your father, what can be of relevance today is the idea of striving to be better than your father. Initially, one could finish college or complete college, and then he gets a letter of employment immediately. He's through with his letter. Is maybe even his last paper of exam. You're posted with your letter the same day. And before you graduate, you must have qualified in that unit of teaching practice. So when you bring in the intern again, it's as if you are retraining this teacher. It's like you're doubting the course that he underwent. So teachers will just be employed directly. The truth is, these mathematics and sciences, most of these subjects are not being taught in a secondary school level. Obviously, as a teacher who chose to teach history and theory had a question mark in mathematics, and even the certificate at Form 4 can prove that.
Yes.
But then he's the one to teach ICT, he's the one to teach mathematics, he's the one to teach science, and those things are not being taught. So we are killing a generation because basically
the very first episode with Hustle 47 podcast. I'm your host, Peter Otieno, and I'm so happy you are here with me today. If you listen to episode 0, you know that this podcast is about helping and inspiring people who work online. We talk to experts making money online and learn from the experiences. Now, for the coming episodes, tutakuwa tukiongea na freelancers, forex traders, online business owners, and anyone who is making money online. We want to bring everyone to you so that they can teach you how they started, the experiences, so that you don't have to go through everything that they went through, so that you just have a smooth way if possible. Now, for our first episode, this episode 1, a very special episode to me, and at the same time, very special guest, who is my father, Mr. Albert Nahungu. He's been a high school teacher for many years. Maybe you might be wondering why a high school teacher is the first guest in this podcast where we are talking about everything online. It's because he believes in traditional jobs and he doesn't really understand the online work and the online world, how it works. And that's what we'll talk about today in this episode. We are going to discuss differences between old school jobs and new online jobs. We talk about why some parents find it hard to accept online work and how we can help them understand it better. So let's get started. Welcome to Hustle 47 podcast. Mr. Albert.
yes,
Karibu sana Nairobi. Asante kwa kuitikia wito.
thank you.
Yeah, so to our esteemed guest, this is my father. He's been here, nimemuita mwenyewe akuja. I wanted him to be on the first guest in our episode so that in other way we bridge the gap between the traditional and the online job, and also bless the show. That was the aim. I told him I want you to bless my show so that when we get started with some blessings, and
I'm happy to be here and looking forward to a fruitful discourse and discussion so that together we may be able to chart the way forward in the world of work, linking the old school thoughts versus the digital ones. And I believe that sometimes change is inevitable. And when change comes, we have to change it in a way that we are able to fit in the society and make the society move with the trends that are a bit modern and up to date. So it's not a matter of being so much in the old school, but also relevant in one way or another during our times. And I believe even now, being a teacher as I am, it is eminent that we have also to be a bit digital and prepare students adequately for the digital world and for the future, for their prosperity, and so that we don't demand so much. We don't remain so much in the past, but gradually change to fit in the modern world that is ever changing, especially in the digital aspect.
Yeah, so he's a teacher of English. That's what I didn't tell you. So mimi nitakuwa nikichanganya Kiingereza na Kizungu as long as we get the point home. To start us off, I had this question, a very random question. Tumekuwa na Gen Z wakiandamana the other week and hii wiki imeisha. What is your view about this reject finance bill?
Most importantly, governance has to do with the responding to the needs of the people. And maybe I should take another different approach and remind each one of us of what I learned in class 4 way back in the 80s. And I remember my teacher of CRE telling us about two kings of Israel. And that was a king called Rehoboam, the son of Solomon. And he took over the leadership of Israel for some time. And we were told that he was one leader who overburdened his people with labor to a point that the Israelites went on the road and he was dethroned. And thereafter came Jeroboam, who was a better king than him. And I remember the teacher telling us that all leadership and all authority comes from God. Whether the leader is bad or good, the bad leader is put there by God himself to prepare a way for a better leader. And that's how he prepared Jeroboam to take over from Rehoboam. So in short, if you can read what I'm saying, is that we should not be crying so much of our problems, but hope that the future, the near future, there'll be a change for the better. I don't want to mention names, but I believe that that change will finally come.
Yes.
And all Kenyans will be relieved of their problems, regardless of the method used, unless the present regime changes its approach to issues. We find that the finance bill is a culmination of the pent-up emotions in the citizenship. And it is only fortunate that it has begun from the young generation, the Gen Z. But if all comes to the shove and the problems continue overburdening the citizens, there might be a situation whereby the whole citizenry, starting from the young children up to the old, the millennials, and all the generations that have been talked about, they might one day all come to the road and demand that Zakayo ashuke, and that will not be very good for our country. So basically speaking, the Gen Z generation is saying what should be heard by everybody, particularly by the leadership, and it is time that they responded to their demands, and together they are not demanding too much. I'm sure they also know this is their country, and they mean only good for the country, and everybody else should be able to make the country move to the right direction.
Okay, now we hope for the best, and now that the president aliamua withdraw the finance bill, there are a few demands that Gen Z bado they're demanding, wanataka he deals with corruptions. In his speech alisema withdraw. Kuna nilisikia akisema about cutting expenditure, zile za government expenditure from his office, MPs and everyone. Alisema njia vile ata reduce expenditure, but he did not. When he touched about corruption, alisema tu deal with corruption. I could give the specific way. Anyway, we hope that they have plans. Now this brings us to nataka nirudi nyuma kabisa. Now wakati nilikuwa naona maandamano, I was seeing something like a failed education system where mtu anamaliza shule, alianza primary, high school, now graduation, amemaliza. Now a lot of youths wako hapa hawaja, they are not employed. They have the skills. Now taking us back, unaweza to share what ni nini while you are in school, wakati ulikuwa shule ukisoma na sahi, how can you compare the two? Najua nyinyi maybe you can tell us, maybe mlikuwa maybe you're employed hata wakati bado uko university, but sahi you can take hata 5-6, kuna nyamaliza 10 years they don't have a job. So I don't know if you can compare the two. what has changed along the way, what needs to be changed, ama what is happening, because youths wengi sana hata hawana kazi.
I happened to have gone to school I was born in the 70s and started going to school in the 80s. And I happened to be in a country whereby when you were young, most employees who were seen to be successful were working either in the railways or in the government offices like the education sector, teachers, maybe, and they had that respect. So somebody would complete his education maybe from 4. Those days I was being told even when you are class 7 or 8, the leader would come home and pick you and take you to join the police and so on. So jobs were available. They were not as scarce as they are today. And then people were working with the hope and with the surety that they will be getting gainful employment, either so that they earn a salary at the end of the month. So companies were, I can remember when we were young, there were even football clubs that were manned by industries. We had the Kenya textile mills in Ithika, Nzoia Sugar in Western, Mumias Sugar. We had Kenya breweries. We had Kenya breweries. We had Bandari from Mombasa. We had several Reunion, Gor Mahia FC. And these were companies and teams that were able to function because everything was good. On a Saturday like this one, all Kenyans were in stadiums watching football from Mumias, Bungoma, Thika, Bandari. And these teams were doing so well.
And they were competitive.
And they were very competitive. I remember in 1987 in the All Africa Games in Nairobi, I think during the days of Fabish, everybody was in Kasarani watching football until I think they were in the semi-finals where their lights were switched off because our team was almost losing. In short, you went to school knowing that after the end of the school, you are going to get employed. And somehow you got employed.
Yes. Like maybe 80% of people are getting employed.
Somehow. You could get a job, even if it was not what you chose to do. But at least you will be somewhere doing something.
Yes.
Then things changed in the early 90s when the government was forced to adjust the economic approach during the structural. I don't think that I thought there was something about structural adjustment by the European countries, and they introduced privatization. So companies like Mumias that were doing very well under the management of Bukatet had to privatize, and the government withdrew most of its shares in these companies. And then with that coming of privatization came now corruption. I think this corruption has just also come around that
90s.
time, in the 90s, where things were now changing from the government and European handling of our companies to private institutionalization of these institutions.
By our own Africans.
And then all the Africans now took over. I remember, like Mia Sugar, there was a manager called the general manager of Samsung, and when he left to the Africans, and now Africans could not manage. There was corruption, infighting, and they collapsed. We mismanaged our own companies, and therefore the only way now was to rely on the government for employment, and the positions were a bit few.
Yes.
And they could not fit all the students who are coming from college. And then even the jobs that were almost looking like they were normal and very normal to acquire.
Yes.
Like teaching became a problem that the employment had to be frozen for some time. Initially, one could finish college or complete college, and then he gets a letter of employment immediately. He's through with his letter. Is maybe even his last paper of exam. You are posted with your letter the same day. You look for the school. You go home with the letter in your hand, looking for the school where the school is. And then somehow around 1997, 98, the idea of interviewing teachers came in. And then now there was a lot of corruption, people choosing the people they wanted and denying others the opportunities.
Yes.
And even now it has changed to politicians walking around with the letters and dishing them out in funerals. It's becoming very unfortunate that those now who have degrees and had graduated early and have not got the job are now even in a worse off situation. Then there's the idea of internship for teachers, which was not there. And these are now graduates earning 15,000 shillings. Then you go tax it to some level. They go home with 10,000. This is a person with a family, is a graduate.
With all the qualifications.
All the qualifications, and you are paying him 10,000. He has to rent a house. He has to take care of his other family members.
Now, in your own opinion, there should be no internship in this.
Internship. According to my understanding of internship, because
yes.
I grew up in Miashuga, around Miashuga, and I grew up during those days when it was very vibrant. The interns were, if you are a graduate,
yes,
just after graduating, you join the company as an intern before they employ you, or a graduate assistant. Sometimes they're called, in the university, they're called graduate assistants.
yes.
So it's like you are preparing you to become a lecturer at the university, or in the Mumia Sugar company, for example, they are preparing you to become a manager.
Yes.
So you join as an intern.
But you know you are having a role that's in that institution.
Training,
yes.
And then later they now absorb you either as a superintendent or as a manager. But now with the teaching, the training of a teacher is that you're trained today for 4 years. You are then even before in that during those 4 years there's what is called teaching practice.
Yes.
Where you learn on the job. You go even for a term in a school. You are given a teacher trainer who trains you in the expectations of a teacher. And before you graduate, you must have qualified in that unit of teaching practice. So when you bring in the intern again, it's as if you are retraining this teacher.
But
it's like you're doubting the course that he underwent. So teachers will just be employed directly. Because when you're graduating, you are given the degree of Bachelor of Education.
Yes.
You as a teacher, and you're given the power to go and do and read all that appoints to that degree. You are not going again to be trained a second time to prepare you for the permanent and pensionable job. The problem here is I think the government does not have the money.
Yes, to employ teachers.
The teachers on permanent and pensionable terms.
Yes.
So they are hiding under internship to buy time, maybe as they look for money. I don't know if it's true that the government does not have money or not, but actually that is a way of the government running away from its responsibility.
Yes.
And reducing the wage bill of the teachers and pretend that now you must be an intern for 2 years. And in fact, even as you are there for 2 years, it is not a surety that will be employed on permanent and pensionable terms. And the other what's also worsening the situation as at now is that you are serving as an intern maybe for 2 years, and there's an individual in your village who has never become an intern, and you go to a funeral and somebody who is an MP is coming with a letter and issuing it to this person who's not an intern on permanent and pensionable terms.
It is interesting that you are saying that schools and government are misusing the purpose of internship. Some schools zinatumia the government instead of just after teaching practice ndio inafaa mtu akuwe employed tu kabisa. Now internship is now a way wamepoliticize, wengine they're using as a means ya kureduce the expenditure in education. And recently pia hapo ndio like mimi I'm not a teacher, but after my graduation in 2019 nakumbuka nilirudi nyumbani kujaribu kutafuta pia nijaribu kupata shule nifunze. The offer I got, it was around 5,000 shillings. Sasa sijui kama hiyo ndio that was not internship, but it was this is a BOG because there are no jobs. The education system, according to me, kuna vile the transition from school to employment imekuwa shida, and the government has also tried imejaribu kuchange the education system from 844 to CBC. So CBC, there is no one in your family as your children, none of those will go through CBC, but you as a teacher, as a principal na managing a school that najua is trying to transition to CBC, What are your views on CBC? Is it a better system than 844? Is it going to solve the problems, maybe education and equipping people with skills? Ama unaona this was not well planned thing?
You have given me, you have given a whole, what we call it, a conglomeration of questions. I don't know which one to start with. I think the first idea was to do with the interns and the idea that there are not enough teachers in schools, and you haven't tried being a teacher before.
Yes.
One thing we should know is that not everybody can be a teacher. Teacher is some people call it a profession, some people call it a service, others say it is a
Passion. Yes.
Maybe I should also mention at this juncture that I've been a teacher for over 25 years. But I never knew I would be a teacher. In fact, my first course when I was at the Form 4 was Bachelor of Laws, then Commerce. I don't know how the computer landed me in teaching, but somehow I became a teacher.
So what was your dream growing up? What did you want to become?
During our days when we were growing up, I'm sorry to say this, what drove most students in class was competition. Whether it was positive or negative, I don't know. Provided I'm number one or number two,
just okay.
That was everything. There was no career guidance. Things like, let us sit down under a tree. What is your career dream? Those things were not there. Guidance and counseling was not there. Academic clinics and academic counseling days were not there.
Even the skills,
visiting days
people
were
with
not
skills.
there. Teaching of skills were not there. The idea was, now who is number one today? You have been number two. Why can't you be number one? So if somebody beats you in class, it's a matter of, you could even be caned at home. Why have you allowed the son of so-and-so to beat you? You should be number one. So the competition was a cutthroat competition of who will be number one. Not thinking about how relevant will you be at the end of the education course.
With the subject that you're taking. With
the subject you're taking. There was nothing like being guided, now take this. Initially there was Form 5 and Form 6, where somebody could transition from Form 4, maybe several subjects. Then at Form 6 he could take 3. I remember there was maths, physics, and the chemistry, what they called the manpower combination, MPC.
Yes.
The toughest that was ever known was producing engineers. There was history, literature, and some English, producing lawyers. Then there are some other courses where we could also transition from Form 6 to the university. Then there came 844. If you look at CBC critically and the 844, you'll find that they are just going back to what 844 was. Because I remember there was home science, there was music in primary school, there was art and craft. All these things we're talking about were in primary school.
Yes.
Then when you went to secondary school, there were schools that were providing power mechanics, electrical and electrical engineering. Those TVET courses, some of them were being provided in secondary school. And therefore, the only new thing, according to me, in the CBC now is the idea of ICT, the integration of ICT in our education systems. But you cannot say now CBC is actually very new. And then, apart from ICT, there is some slight mention of values. The idea of students being nurtured to come up with values, a value-based person who knows that he's living in a society. He should be respectful, he should be loving, he should be working as a team, he should be doing all these things. So apart from, they're also insisting that there is talent development, but all these things have been there. Like I have just mentioned before, if you are looking critically at CBC, at the senior school, there are 3 pathways. There is art, let me say, call it art and science. Then there is STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Then there is social sciences. Yes. So I'm saying, say, if you're in Form 6, for example, and you went for maths, physics, and chemistry, obviously you are a person of the pathway of STEM.
Yes.
You go for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Then if you are a person of law, for example, history, literature, and so on, you will be at Form 6 maybe. The new system, the new dispensation of CBC, you'll go for social sciences. So there's actually not much that is new. And then there is another element that people argue that at CBC you develop the competency of talent development.
Yes.
And that's what I've always been thinking about, that talent alone, without that discipline, without those values, cannot take you anywhere. So if you are a good footballer, for example, you're earning $1 million. During the day, you're in the field. At night, you are in a nightclub. You have been found
Not
to
even
have
living healthy.
attempted to rape. Or you are a boxer, you are making millions also.
Yes.
But after the boxing session, you are found abusing drugs, and you have become a potato or a cabbage the following day.
Yes.
So it's not just about talent, or even the idea of people growing up with their various pathways, but there is more that has to be taught about our values as a system and as a society.
Yes.
And that's what even is making the society rotten now, that we don't have, even leaders have no values. They don't know that it is not about me alone, but about the society as a whole.
Yes.
People think about themselves, people think about how can I amass wealth, how can I get rich. So even these jobs that people are looking for, they're not looking for them because they want to help the society. They're looking for them to satisfy their own individual egos. And therefore, we should move away from that individualism. The society is moving away from whether you are a capitalist or a communist or something like that, but more of the good, the general good of the society. And I think that's where we are going to, because I was reading somewhere, somebody was arguing that before independence, during those days of slave trade, and just after independence, most jobs were dependent on the use of muscles. How energetic are you? And then later, they moved to the use of brains. How intelligent are you? And the intelligence was being measured by how many exams you have passed and so on. And then now, slowly somebody is arguing that we shall, as we move to the next generation, we are going to the use of the heart. How good is your heart? How can you help those who are vulnerable in the society? It's not a matter of I'm rich, I'm affluent. And that's the argument that you're having even in Kenya today, that you'll find where there is a slum, where there is a, what do they call it, a residential place for the rich, there's a slum next to it. So if you go to, I'm sorry to use Langata or
Langata and Kibera.
let me say Langata, you'll find Madare there. You go to Kileleshwa or even Lavington, you'll find
Another slum
there like Kibera. You'll find Kawangware, which is sort of just next to Lavington. So somehow this also leads to insecurity. People are jobless. They don't have the food, and they see somebody else even throwing that food that they can be of good use to it. So the society should be thinking more of how can the society be better for all of us, not for an individual. And maybe CBC could address that.
But I beg to cut you short. You're talking about that CBC can address it, but as far as I know for now, schools, they have spared the road. Now they're spoiling the child. And watoto hawapigwi shule. And now I think talking about teaching people value, I don't know how teachers now are managing it to teach the students values and everything. Because growing up, sisi what used to, hata kuna watu wanasema kiboko ndio huwa inafunza mtoto adabu. Shule zimewacha hiyo. So ni kama I feel like they have left the responsibility to the parents at home, and it's even getting tougher.
No, the idea of maybe I should come back before I come to the idea of using the cane or using the sparing the road and sparing the child. They made that challenge. I told you that according to me, they only knew a new addition to the other curriculum in terms of CBCs in terms of ICT integration.
Yes.
If you took a student from a school in Nairobi or in an urban setting, or a school that knows what is happening in terms of ICT, and compare that child to a student in the village, if I may use the village in the real village as it is, you'll find There are some schools where a student has not even seen a computer. There are some schools where the government supplied some, what they call laptops or whatever they were.
The tabs and
For the primary school students. They were never used. They were, the corner where they were dumped, they have gathered dust there and they are still there. So if you go to a modern setting, you'll find a modern child knows what coding is, knows what a mouse is, knows what software is, at least he has some knowledge of what a computer is. But in the village setting, those things are not there. There's nothing happening, and that's the truth that you have to say. Another truth that you have to say is that you have employed 2 teachers for CBC under internship or whatever, junior secondary schools. The teacher trained in history and CRE, 2 subjects at a university. Another one did English only. Another one did maybe geography, business. And then you have 11 subjects or 13 for him to teach, including mathematics and sciences. The truth is, these mathematics and sciences, most of these subjects are not being taught at the junior secondary school level. Obviously, as teacher who chose to teach history and CRE had a question mark in mathematics, and even the certificate at Form 4 can prove that. But then he's the one to teach ICT, he's the one to teach mathematics, he's the one to teach science, and those things are not being taught. So we are killing a generation because basically these are people who are supposed to come up to the university level, and even before university, at the secondary level, senior secondary, they're supposed to choose pathways. How would you expect a teacher a student who has been taught history by a teacher of history and CRE to choose the STEM, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics pathway, and become a doctor or become an engineer? So most of these abilities are being killed at that particular level, at the lower primary level or at the junior secondary school level. They are not being prepared at all. And those computers also are not there. The electricity is a problem in some schools.
Maybe it goes and comes back after a week or even a month. When the transformer blows away, it will be repaired 3 months later.
I was talking to a friend of mine. The other day, and he was telling me that there's a school where there are 1,200 students, and the power had been can I use the word cut off by the Kenya Power and Lighting Company because the principal was not paying
the bill,
the electricity bills.
So
for 3 days, the boys went without
electricity in the school.
Electricity and no shower. They went on strike and said, now, if this is a principal with us here, cannot even pay power. But that's not
that's a boarding school.
Boarding school. So the idea is that the government has to be a bit serious. There was something called Computer for Schools Kenya. And I think for some time they used to identify one school in a sub-county or in a county. Then they supply some 10 or 11 computers. They were training some ICT champions in the secondary schools. They would identify a teacher and they train. Then all of a sudden, I think it also became a pathway for a cash cow in one way or another. People could make money from it. And somehow, I saw somewhere a stall for Computer for Schools Kenya, but I did not go to find out what they are doing today. If it is still there, I don't know. If it is something that is being done behind the backs of the Kenyans and they are not doing anything, then that's another question for another day. But Computer for Schools Kenya should come in now, and it should not be a matter of identifying one school in a sub-county or one school in a county. It should be an issue of all schools in Kenya. They should be internet connected. They should be given computers. There should be internet connectivity. Lessons for computers should start going on as early as yesterday.
Yes, and even if that's so difficult, I think the easiest thing they can start with is to set up computer laboratories in every ward, so that...
that was the idea. That's also an idea. We know the problem with Kenyans, we have very many good ideas. I was traveling from Mombasa yesterday, and There's this Konza Technopolis.
Konza City.
Konza City, a very big space. It's like the place has already been deserted again.
The idea was there.
The idea was there.
But no implementation
Then
and
now
the
again
corruption.
it's
and
as good as it is again dead or something. I looked at the place and wondered.
everything.
What I was reading in the press and the social media about Konza and the expectations we had about the place, it was as if it is not even, nobody's talking about it again. So we need to go back to the drawing board and find out
Yes,
what
so,
do we really want for our country.
I think as for now, I also believe that based on your words, I feel like the government was not ready for CBC because there are no resources.
You know, there's something called curriculum reform, and the curriculum reform takes a particular process. I cannot remember the exact words, but the most important thing in curriculum reform is what is called piloting.
Yes.
In the piloting, like if it is a Kenya want to introduce CBC, you identify some schools, let's say one in Northeastern, maybe two in Northeastern, two in Rift Valley, two in Coast, the whole country. Then you pilot that thing even for 3, 4, 5 years. Then you see the outcome. From the piloting, you will see the strengths, you'll be able to see the weaknesses, and able to see, you'll make a SWOT analysis, and then you'll be able to see, this is how you can make the correction, this is how you can make an improvement. But I'm sorry to say that, according to me, CBC it was not piloted anywhere in Kenya. It was a matter of just people waking up and saying, we are now changing to CBC from 844.
Yeah, we've got some maybe lessons from abroad.
Somebody maybe just did some comparative analysis of another country, or maybe pressure from abroad, you have to change it to CBC, or we cannot give you funds or something. So we jumped the process. It's like jumping the gun. And unfortunately, this thing might backfire on us just as we go ahead. Because it will not be easy. It will not be easy even to transition those students from secondary school to university, even from junior school to secondary. Because one, I'm a secondary school teacher, and I have to be sincere with every one of us in Kenya. There has been, if there is any training of secondary school teachers in readiness for CBC, then I don't know where it took place in Kenya today. And it's as if the government is buying time because they are saying the students will come to CBC, to the senior school in 2026. So it's as if they are saying they still have a year.
Yes.
But there should be some preparation, some serious preparation. And even the CBC is now a modern thing that needs a different approach of teaching and so on. The teaching methodology cannot be the same as that of 844. Most of the teachers have gone through the 844 methodology of teaching. CBC has changed. CBC is student-centered. Most of 844 is teacher-centered. How much have we prepared these teachers for the students to be trained by teachers who are aware that now this teaching is student-centered? So we should go back to the drawing board and revisit as fast as possible, as early as yesterday, the idea of teaching of the CBC and how we can make it better for the good of the country.
Yes.
Then you talked about caning.
Yes.
You call it caning, or in language, in the teaching for you call it corporal punishment.
It has now turned to corporal punishment.
It is called corporal punishment. It's not called caning. But now the problem is that Kenya signed a convention, the United Nations Convention, that demands that students should not be subjected to corporal punishment as a nation. So it's a convention requirement by the United Nations, and it is not only Kenya that signed it. It was signed by very many countries in the world. So it's like we are accepting that we should not subject our students to corporal punishment. But when we were growing up, our teachers used to say that the Europeans came with the cane. And when they came with the cane, they believed that when you cane the buttock of an African, the blood moves very fast to the brain, and the brain gets activated, and they think very fast.
Now, in short, now they have come and wamechukua tena kiboko yao, so they don't want us to think again.
No, they also, I don't know if we'll have time to talk about this. We used to learn two things in terms of management of human beings and how you can change their behavior. And one of the ways of changing a human behavior is to change the mind, slowly by slowly. What you call ideological apparatus. That even as we talk about the colonialists, they came with the Bible in one hand and the gun on the other. So you either listen to the Bible and follow what the Bible tells you, or you don't. They use the gun or the kiboko. So similarly in schools, there's the idea of using ideological apparatus like guidance and counseling, as we've been talking about. And this other side, we talk about repressive state apparatus. Those who are not able to toe the line of the Bible, to continue keeping quiet and believing in the future, you can take them to jail, you can cane them, you can beat them up. So both can be used depending on the various circumstances that you are dealing with. For example, if there's a student you have been talking to for over 2 weeks and it's not changing, you can introduce the cane. But now, that's now the problem where it comes. If most parents go to school and they say,
nichapie kijana ndio apite.
Mrudishe kiboko. Yes. And then you happen to cane. The same parent complains to the education office or the teacher service commission. The question that the teachers asked always is, wewe ulisomea wapi sheria yenye nasema uchape viboko? You are an employee of the teacher service commission. Teacher service commission is an employee saying, don't cane.
Yes.
So if you cane, you are interdicted. So the teacher who knows that he's supposed to combine both the ideological apparatus, or maybe guidance and counseling, and a bit of the cane, cannot use the cane because of the safety of his job. He has to secure his job. And therefore, because the teacher knows the right thing, but the TSC has now said there's no caning, now the discipline goes down, because now what could have been corrected using the cane cannot be corrected therefore. So the teachers and the parents, and not even the parents, the teachers and the parents know that if you spare the road, you spoil the child, as you say.
Yes.
The students know that if they are caned, they have a place to complain. They also know what they are calling themselves, student rights and so on. So the hands of the teachers are somehow tied, because basically, you know what the right thing say it should be done, but now it is not done. And the students also know that if I'm caned, I can complain, and they can even sack a teacher if I wanted, if I complained, and so. It's a mix-up of issues that are very difficult to understand.
Yes, and that's why I was saying that the role of teaching values to the younger generation has been left to the parents alone. I don't know how TSC is going to do that, because I know if you spare the road, people will be in this, will lack discipline in the school and even outside here. A lot of our generation, Gen Z, wenye wamekuwa nje wakiandamana, the demonstrations are good, but I know most of them wamepitia hiyo system ya without the cane. Now shifting gears to our last part, the digital world. You have spoken about the education, vile imekuwa huko nyuma, the current system, CBC. Now transitioning maybe a student from the university to employment. There have been no jobs. And even the TSC, we mwenyewe umesema they are using internship to at least pay people some 15,000. Now imagine even a few months ago, some medical students, the doctors, were striking because they were told you'll be employed under internship. Then you'll be paid around 75,000 shillings. A very qualified doctor that is supposed to be employed full time. There are some courses that when you do, you will tarmac for years so that you can get the opportunity. The system has also been set in a position that you have to know someone ndio upate kazi. Even the president himself amesema anatafutia watu kazi. Anatafuta kazi Germany, anatafutia watu Saudi Arabia. He's making those deals to try and export our skills outside the country. So there has been this shift into freelancing. Like me, I studied economics and statistics, but now I'm a content writer. And you have, I think you have not been comfortable with me doing writing. I know you have been sending me links here and there to try and apply to KRA. Ngine unanitumia ni apply Safaricom. But you still believe that that is the path someone should take from the education system that we have in Kenya. But on the ground, it's tough. So a lot of people, young people, have decided to teach themselves some skills, alafu wafanye online jobs. Now, how comfortable are you with or what are your views when you find someone who you've spent your school fees, umetumia pesa mingi sana kutupeleka shule, but now someone just decide to kukua writer like me?
Being a writer is not something very bad. In fact, it only depends on why are you writing in the first place. Then whom are you writing for? And what are the proceeds from the same writing? Because basically, what the initial idea was that somebody should get gainful employed, white collar job and so on. Because basically, the idea was there are two things. One, the security. One was being employed and getting a salary at the end was somehow securing the expectations of the parent, or being secure as a parent that, or even as an employee, that at the end of the month I'll get some 50,000, as you say, February 50,000, maybe March 50,000. So
Yes.
there was that security that you are sure that this person is in gainful employment, and he'll not just wake up one day and become unemployed.
Yes.
Then there's two.
Yes.
There's also the term of pride, and pride has to do with the pride of the individual and the pride in quotes of the parent. That so you say the son works with the government, or the daughter works with the KRA. So wherever you go, you are respected, and people give you that. They give you a chair and say,
Kijana mzazi wa
if you
fulani.
go to most of the schools, boarding schools in most, even primary schools or secondary schools, there are boards of management. And if you look at the membership, and that's another problem that we have in Kenya, I'm sorry to come back to this,
Yes.
that people are in boards of management not because they can do anything, but because of their sons. Huyo amefundisha mtoto paka university, aenda najua maneno ya kuwa mwenyekiti. So there's the status, the idea of status question, the respect coming in, and the money being assured at the end of the month.
Yes.
And all these things.
Yes.
So one thing about this freelance writing is that, like in your case, for example, there's no way you've opened up and said, in 1 month I can earn 100 or 20. You also say it depends on the clients. But if it is KRA, at the end of the month, he can do ABCD.
KRA watatukujia.
And then too, another issue of the same, even if you talk about corruption, there are some jobs people want to place in their children, and they know that they cannot be corrupt and they make quick money.
Okay.
We have heard it said before, and it is still being believed that for you to get a job in the government, for example, in the police, the army, even the same KRA, you have to cough up some reasonable amount of money.
Yes.
And then within, maybe after you have been absorbed by the government on job, somehow you have to struggle to get back the money that you gave out in terms of getting the job. And that now magnifies the idea of corruption in our
Society.
in our workforce. But basically speaking, you have agreed that jobs are not being created in our country. Although there was an argument also I had yesterday of somebody arguing that the idea of workforce being imported is it exported?
Exported.
Workers being exported to, like you say, Germany, Saudi Arabia. Should not be the case.
Yes.
Kenya should reach a level whereby they can create their own job opportunities within their country.
Yes.
So that you're not exporting workforce, and you happily say you're exporting that workforce. We should have a way in which you can use that workforce to better our society, to better our country. You cannot use public money, for example, that is meant to build our hospitals, and you don't use it correctly, and then you export these doctors to another country, and then again, when you fall sick, you have to
There's
take a
no one to
plane.
treat you here.
You have to take a plane to be treated by the same doctors who would have
Abroad.
treated you in Kenya,
Yes.
because you are now mismanaging the country. So basically speaking, I would not say freelance is bad. What is important is we are moving towards innovation, more towards innovators, more towards entrepreneurship, and the entrepreneurship has to do with the maybe to some point income generation, and things are changing to entertainment industry. You have talked about writing. There are some other things you can do apart from just sitting in an office the whole day, 8 hours, and there's nothing much that you are doing. So if we can think about how innovative can we be, how can we come out of this what we call the conventional way of thinking? How can we think outside the box to be relevant to the needs of the society?
Yes.
That would be better than waiting for somebody to employ you. Because basically speaking, courses like economics would expect that somebody will lead maybe to KRA, maybe become to the treasury. But now in Kenya today, if we even to ask you, how many students were in that class, in your graduation class,
we
who
were
are
around
studying
60.
economics?
We were 60.
60
Yes.
cannot be absorbed by KRA.
Yeah, that's
And
become
that's
the
just
problem.
one university.
Yes.
There are several. So
Uh,
if you can come up with something that is relevant to the society, then there's nothing bad in taking that approach, provided, as I said, it should be geared towards the betterment of
the society.
the society.
Okay, then that's why I had to learn from. I didn't have any skills in writing, but later on, as I grew, I had to expand the skills and also add more. And you've said that what makes you happy is that you need to have the status. So there is no way a writer or a freelancer or any, let's say I'll also be interviewing some forex traders. There's no way their parents are feeling proud about them, or what will make their parents now pride?
Now,
What will bring pride to their
It's
parents?
not a matter of, in fact, pride alone, that's why I say the pride in quotes. Pride is negative.
Eh,
I think pride is negative.
okay, the status. How?
And we always say
Yes.
pride leads to a fall. So pride is something negative. You know, if you are proud, it's like you feel that I'm better than so and so.
Yes.
It's like you are bragging, which is negative. So, but you can make your guardian or your parents proud if, like I've said, you are impacting on the society. You are impacting on the society.
Yes.
So that if you look at it kind of religiously, in the religious perspective, you can say this school, like you have just said, had no power. Although there was a time that the government said every school must have power, but I'm sure there are some schools that don't have power. You can say this school had no power, but it took the initiative of, let's say, Peter Otieno to tap
connect,
power,
yes.
to tap power for this school.
Uh,
This school had problems to do with the water.
yes.
It is Cyrilla who came up with the idea of generating water or ensuring that the students have water or running water for the students. And then you can also look at these orphans had not been going to school. It is Peter who mobilized funds and ensured that they completed their education. Are you saying that even if your father was dead, he will not be happy in his grave? That's what I'm trying to say. It should not just be a matter of I've generated a job, I'm feeling okay, but how are you assisting the society? How are you assisting the society? And that pride will obviously come. There's a church that have to be built. There are students that have to go to school. There are widows who are suffering somewhere. So you think, how can we assist these people? And I feel that that's what we have not been teaching our students. Like I'm sure where we come from, in Busia specifically, we have doctors, like even in our locality, we have doctors, medical doctors, we have lawyers, we have engineers. But if there's a function in the local church, you will find fathers to these prominent doctors, engineers, and so-called successful people telling them not to participate in the affairs of the church. They don't even give their names for them to contribute to Harambes, because according to them, they'll be bewitched. So they hide their children in Nairobi. Their children only appear during funerals. And then you say, hey, kumbe huyu ndio mtoto wa fulani, huyu mtoto unako wapi?
Or maybe
So somebody's a professor, but nothing has done in his community. Somebody's a lawyer, but there's nothing has done to the community. That's what I'm saying. It should be employment, then earnings, then effect on the community. Okay.
I think we have covered a lot of areas that I wanted you to cover around education, the employment system, your view on freelancing, what will now that the freelancers, it looks like it appears that they can't give that status to the parent. But you've really explained well and say that what we need to do is just to contribute to the society and feel like we are giving back to the society. And that is a good point, which I think it is easy to do as long as there is teamwork and people cooperating. Now moving forward and closing this show, the first episode, nataka to shift kidogo tuende kwa siasa. I know growing up sometimes umeshinda ukisema siku moja nitakuwa MP, unarudi unasema MCA kidogo. But now you are still bado unangoja kuretire. Sasa sijui unangoja uretire ndio uende ama you gave up on that dream. Talking of leadership and politics, there is a lot that has been happening, and I know you must be having something to say about the kind of leaders that we have. Even with the new regime, I know it's 2 years, but some people have already lost hope in the regime. Regarding Gachagua mwenyewe, the deputy president, his last speech alikuwa nasema just 2 years ago we were a darling of Kenyans, something like that. But after 2 years, anauliza what really happened. So I don't know, siasa, what do you say about the kind of leaders that we have, and if kama wananchi wanawaamini bado?
In terms of politics of the country, you have hinted to the idea that you once had a dream of becoming an elected leader in this country. I think that was way back in 2017 or thereabout. And there should be that force that pushes you to want to become a leader. And that force should be the idea of serving the people in a better way than maybe the way you are seeing the other leaders doing it. And I think the major factor that has made very many people run away from competitive leadership positions is basically the belief by the electorate that they have to be given something small before they vote in the prospective leaders. In every community you go to, you'll find a phrase that has been termed, that have been crafted to stand in for what they are given as something small in quotes. So most electorate or most voters believe that if they are not given anything by the powers that be, or the person seeking that leadership position, then they will not vote him or her. And because of that ignorance, we have ended up electing the wrong people to those positions of power. So much so that most leaders buy their positions And when they go to those government positions, they look for ways of first ensuring that their money in their pockets is back. So they look for any opportunity, be it NGS, national government funds, any grants from the government. They first take a bigger chunk of that money to repay themselves in quotes. Then, as you're talking about matters education and matters the society, we have a problem in Kenya of leaders who are not able to manage their positions well, taking over positions that are that could be managed by people who have, in quotes, gone to school properly. We find because of the idea of money, people have known that if I have money, I'll win elections.
Yes.
So this is the idea of hearing people carrying money in bags, millions, and walking around with the money.
Yes.
And asking those who don't have the money what utadu. So the phrase utadu has made them do anything and run around the country looking down upon the educated and looking down upon teachers, looking down upon religious leaders. And they believe that with money, they are better off than anybody else.
Yes.
It is time that Kenyans came out strongly and gave positions to those who deserve those positions. I think you are in the book we have been teaching the Caucasian Chalk Circle. There's a statement which says that what there is shall go to those who are good for it. What there is shall go to those who are good for it. So that if you are saying we want to a member of parliament, we have put a rule, for example, that for you to be a member of parliament, you must be a graduate. You must be having a degree, I think, is one of the requirements. But sometimes
original certificate.
Right, sometimes you wonder how some of the MPs whom we know even by name were able to be elected as even went through the vetting process even for them to reach the ballot. So let us be serious, Kenyans. And if you are saying that you must have a degree to go to become a member of parliament, let it be that. And then we know that all universities in the world are either chartered or something like that. We recognize the universities we're talking about.
Yes.
I cannot open a university today and then you come for a degree tomorrow, and then you say you have a degree from my university. It should be a clear degree. It will be clear that if you don't have a degree, you don't qualify. No changing of no changing of goalposts.
Yes.
It should be clear that for you to be an MP, you have to have a degree.
And people can.
And in fact, it should be people should even be able to parade their degrees.
Yes.
And that brings me back even to the question of fake degrees. It is unfortunate that this idea of fake degrees must have begun in one of the famous universities in Kenya, which I don't want to name. But I remember there were claims that you could even get a master's or PhD degree without attending a class. You just go and register for your degree course, and then you see somebody behind the doors. You go back home, stay there, wait for the graduation day. Then you find somebody sitting next to you, a person you have never seen even in your classroom, being awarded
first class.
The same degree as yours, and yet he never even attended a classroom. And people knew these characters. We know those professors who are doing this. This habit should stop. We want to take Kenya back to glory. Kenya is a country of intellectuals, and it is not good enough that we should let it be seen as if we don't know what you are doing. Yet you have people with that first class you are talking about who can be relied upon. We have people who are respected internationally. Our East African country brothers respect Kenya, and sometimes they say you don't need to go to London. There's London in Kenya, which is Nairobi or something like that. So we don't need to look down upon ourselves so much and let ourselves go down the drain by engaging in corrupt practices that will not take us anywhere. The problem in Kenya is that people want to get rich very fast. Everybody wants to look for an opportunity to grab. Everyone wants to look for an opportunity to make money, and we have forgotten even service to humanity. So let us be governed by that service to humanity, and we believe service to humanity, service to God. Let us love the truth. Let us use the right channels to get where we want to go to, and I'm sure God will be happy with us, and we shall be able to prosper as a nation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much about that. And now we want to close with some quick fire questions, just random questions to know more about you and close the day. I wanted to ask just what is your... Okay, let me just twist it again. And this what does success, how do you define success? And utaonaje mtu ako sasa successful now useme the lifestyle or something? How do you define success? I think you are getting my point.
When you are growing up, let me start from our past. Every one of us has a background.
Yes.
And when I was growing up, I'm sorry to give this example. I grew up with my father, as I said earlier, in Mumias, and somehow we used to share evenings, the two of us. Just myself and my old father who was working in the mutual company. And he could challenge me. And the challenge was that if you want to be a successful person, ensure that you do something better than your father.
Yes.
If your father had 10 cows, make sure you have 20. If your father had a semi-permanent house, make sure you have a permanent one.
Yes.
If your father was walking on or riding a bicycle, make sure you have struggle to buy a car or a four-legged. Something like that. So somehow in my mind, he also added that for you to be a successful man, you should have a house, you should have a wife, you should have children.
Yes.
Alafu na hiyo vitu ingine ambayo nimetaja hiyo. So that was his parameter of a successful person, and that instilled that in me to believe that if I did all those things, then I would consider myself
Successful.
I wished that he had enlarged this horizon to I would be further than where I am today. But I think I struggled very fast and attained his expectations. Then somehow that was his
then you relaxed
his parameters of success.
And called it, now I'm there.
So similarly, maybe what I can borrow from my old father, the late, his soul rest in peace, is that what can be of relevance today is the idea of striving to be better than your father. Not that you are competing him, but you are trying to do something better
and improve on the current situation.
And even be better than he was.
Yes.
Then maybe also that was during that time. So what we are going to do to improve on the level of your father should also be relevant to those times that you are in, so that you are not talking about a plantation of cassavas and some two goats and some bicycle as successful as but you now look at it maybe at a national level, international level.
Yes.
So that owning a plantation of cassava
does not look like success to you.
It's not to be a very big success. You should also compare yourself to the others and see in which environment am I working in, and what is the level of success according to that parameter.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And another question. If you could go back in time now, say you are at my age, you're in your late 20s, what would you have done differently? Is there something you would have done differently?
There are a lot of things that I would have done. There are so many things I would have done. Maybe I should tell you that I've never told you before. I don't like saying this, but it's true that I got a first class honors degree. Presided
and I was to mention that. I don't know why I
presided
forgot
over
it.
by His Excellency the late Daniel Arap Moi on 20th November 1998. And I was supposed during those days it was it was automatic that if you get a first class honors degree, the university looks for you. They give you a scholarship to go abroad or to study locally. Full scholarship. But I don't know what happened to my degree. That's something that I've tried to
follow up.
But because of security reasons, I was told not to follow up that matter because it would be opening a Pandora's box.
Moving forward, another question. This is just a random question. What is your favorite song, or who is your favorite musician?
Currently or in the past?
Okay, you can compare in the past and currently and just choose your best one. Or you can give us both.
Or I just give a summary of songs that
just give us your favorite one.
Presently.
Okay, in the past.
I have several songs, love songs, whatever, but that one has come to my mind.
What was the love song that is your favorite?
I have grown up listening to very many songs, and maybe I should say most of the names I've given to my children are originated or linked to some song or whatever. Elvis is basically a creation of Elvis Presley. Aaron Presley was a musician in America. He sang about racial equality during those days, and he was a very serious singer.
Yes.
And just like what you're talking about here now, when I went to Form 1, there was a young man called, my classmate called Elvis Ondego. Elvis Ondego was the son to Brown Ondego. Brown Ondego was the managing director of Kenya Posta. The whole country, it was Kenya Posta that was dealing with the letters. Kenya Posta was dealing with the phone calls. Kenya Posta was doing everything that Wells Fargo is doing now, that's being done by the phone.
Yes.
Because we had no mobile phones, you could go on some, what are they called? Hizi mabati walikuwa najenga alafu unaenda unapiga simu,
the telephone booths.
The telephone booth that was being done by Tunda Post. I was also, when I was giving the boy the name Elvis, I was also looking forward to him becoming like Elvis Ondego, or like Elvis Ondego's father, and therefore I gave him the name Elvis.
Yes.
Then if you look at Peter Otieno here, Peter Otieno's original name was Ride On. Ride On was a song that was sung during the disco, those songs of breakdance. It was like, ride on time, baby, ride on time. Let me tell you what to do, ride on time. I think those are the days of Michael Jackson, when he was singing about it doesn't matter whether you are black or white, and something like that.
Yes.
So I've been a love of music all through.
Okay. Now to our final question, what is the last advice you can give to this generation that are in their early 20s to late 20s, that are always seeking to find success very fast, or they're quick on trying to find different ways to get success?
What we need in life is patience. What we need in life is focus. What you need in life is God. You know, we are products of a powerful, a higher force, and that higher force, or that supernatural force, is God. And God, we are His creation, and therefore we don't need to hurry. In John chapter 14, I think verse 6, it says, God is the way, the truth, and the life. So we should wait for God's roadmap and follow that roadmap and not be in a hurry. Similarly, in Psalms chapter 27, verse 14, we are advised to be still, to be calm, not to be in a hurry, to wait for God's time, because I believe God's timing is the best. So if we believe us in God, then that's the message. But if you don't believe in God, but you should know that God is supreme, and that if we follow His instructions and His ways, then guided by the biblical teachings that we have had in various stages, we will be able to attain our goals and enjoy our life as assigned and as willed by God.
Is there, like, do you feel there is an age itafika sasa now someone's feel like I'm getting late, maybe they're not successful in what they have been trying, is there a specific age that people will start? Maybe for me, I know there are so many things and also so many youths out there trying on a jaribu, but is there an age that you feel like by this age you should be, you have utakuwa unafaa ukuwa umefanya hivi umefanya hivi umefanya hivi?
That is what I was calling competition. You are judging yourself using the parameters of how the society looks at you, not at how you are looking at yourself. So if you start saying, at this age I should have done this, that's in whose eyes are you making that judgment?
Yes.
So it's about the individual first. What you call satisfaction. As an individual, are you satisfied? So don't think so much about the thinking of the masses.
So we have come to the end of the first episode of the Hustle 47 podcast, where I have hosted my father in this first episode. And I want to thank him for being here, for being a father of many. Mengangana, we know we have been there as a teacher, but he's managed to put us through school and also teach us the values that are rare in the society. And even my friends by the who anasema getting a friend or getting a friend in Nairobi with the values that you are raised with, siku hizi ni ngumu, and even just getting a girl. So hata huwa anasema Peter, you did well, you've already settled. Siku hizi ni kugumu. Now, for the coming episodes, we now will be shifting to freelancing, who's just here to bridge the gap between the traditional and the digital world that we are going. We'll be interviewing freelancers, we'll be interviewing forex traders, kuna wale wa social media. I've seen people, does TikTok really, can you really earn money on TikTok? Kuna watu naona gifts, Lion, sijui ni 40,000 shillings, mtu akikutumia hiyo gift. So ukipata gift kama 3 Lion in that day, you've already made 120,000. Does TikTok really pay? And even the social media, kuna influencers. That is where Ziad Nasenya alitoka. We have also comedians wako huko. Not just TikTok, YouTube. We'll be talking about with those experts, Instagram, all social media sites. Then kuna hawa social media managers, kuna teaching about WordPress. Kuna skills, other people are selling items on Etsy. I saw someone, kuna slippers hapa inauzwa 300 shillings. Anauzia wazungu 2,500 and export to. Then that is how people are making money out here. So I want to interview them and bring them so that you can learn the experiences. And one thing about Hustle 47 is that we are creating courses to teach you all these things. From freelancing, I'll be having a free book that I'll be releasing at the end of next month, that is August. You'll have it for free as long as you follow us on social media. Then I'll give you all the details how you can get the book. You can learn it. It's a book about freelancing. You can learn Upwork, Trips, how to find clients, Fiverr, how to submit your gigs, how you can get jobs fast and grow your account. A lot of those things. So a lot is coming, and share this with your friends. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us everywhere and stay tuned. Thank you so much. And from us here, goodbye and see you in episode 2. Thank you.